Hello everyone, welcome back to Believers AS Academy. This is daily news analysis session. In this session, as usual, we will be discussing important articles from the Hindu, Indian Express and other various newspapers for UPSC perspective. So today, the first article for the day 4th July 2025 is an article from the Hindu. The article is, Can the Supreme Court halt an act passed by a state? Okay, so this is political in nature. It is also against the separation of power doctrine. So how the powers are separated between legislature and judiciary. So here, according to the article, it says that yes, but only if the law violates constitutional provisions or exceeds legislative competence. Okay, there are two conditions according to the constitution, that is if it is violates the constitutional provisions or it is against the legislative competence. Okay, each legislature, be it the center or the state, have their own legislative competence or legislative jurisdiction. If they cross the jurisdiction, then the Supreme Court can step in and say that you are violating the constitutional norms. Court cannot treat a duly enacted law as contempt unless it breaches these parameters. Okay, this reflects a doctrine of separation of powers among the legislature, executive and judiciary. Okay, so the article also discusses about Nandani Sundar case in 2011. What was this case about? On this, Supreme Court gave an order. According to the order, it directed the Chhattisgarh government to stop the special police officers in court Maoist operations. Okay, there was counter Maoist operations happening in Chhattisgarh. So they started using special police officers. Supreme Court in that particular case ordered the Chhattisgarh government to stop the special police officers and also ordered the state government to withdraw firearms from SPOs, that is special police officers, and prevent the operation of groups like Salwa Judun and Koya Commandos. And Supreme Court also directed the Union of India to cease funding to SPO recruitment for anti-Naxal operations. Court also held that such special police officers, being ill-trained and underpaid, violated Article 14, that is right to equality, and Article 21, that is right to life and dignity. Okay, so previous case was that Supreme Court intervened in the state government's law or the order and then squashed the order. Okay, so it is compatible and only based on the constitutional provisions or if it is against legislative jurisdiction. So recently there was a contempt petition. So what triggered the contempt petition? Chhattisgarh enacted the Chhattisgarh Auxiliary Armed Police Force Act of 2011 post the Supreme Court ruling. Once the Supreme Court ruled against Special Police Act, Chhattisgarh enacted a law telling that created an auxiliary force to aid security forces. They are not from the frontline combat and required training, eligibility screening and non-frontline deployment as well. So now the petitioners argue that this violates the spirit of 2011 court order. So this is there in the Supreme article, and also the Supreme Court rejected the complaint plea. Why? Because compliance with 2011 directive, that is this Auxiliary Police Force Act, complies with the 2011 directives given by the Supreme Court. That is, state submitted the compliance reports and legislative competence upheld that a legislature can pass a new law to address constitutional concerns. Supreme Court Chhattisgarh has turned the executive order into a legislation. It brought a law, and in that law, it addressed all the issues that Supreme Court quoted in the particular case. Then, a new act cannot be contempt unless it is unconstitutional. And Supreme Court also reiterated from the Indian Aluminum Company versus State of Kerala 1996. That is, in that case, court held that court must respect the balance between the three organs of the state, that is the separation of powers. Okay, so what are the constitutional doctrines involved here? One is separation of powers, that is judiciary cannot interfere with the legislative process unless it violates the constitution. Then judicial review, courts can strike down laws which are extra jurisdiction or unconstitutional. And then contempt of court does not apply to a new valid legislation unless it is deliberately nullifies the court orders unconstitutionally. Okay, the court order can be nullified through constitutional measures, and the court order must be nullified only with the directives given by the court. If the new law is nullifying the court order, or if it is nullifying the court order such that it is not addressing the directive and it is unconstitutional, then it becomes a contempt of court. In this case, court held that the Chhattisgarh law is not a contempt of court because it is addressing the issues. Okay, then second editorial, a very important and the burning issue in these days, that is, there was an editorial in the Hindu by M.A. Baby. The article read, "Socialism, secularism are the spirit of the constitution." Okay, what is the context? Recently, RSS made a comment that socialism and secularism were not part of Indian original constitution. They were added by 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act. So they said that they are not, India is not socialism or secularism, and these are not constitutional values. Okay, so this editorial comes into this regard. It addresses what is socialism in constitution. It says that socialism under Indian constitution is social and economic justice. Okay, it promotes equality, eradicates inequality, and builds welfare state. Inequality in terms of job, pay, etc., etc. Then it is reflected in preamble, though it was not explicitly mentioned in the initial preamble. It was reflected such that preamble, that is justice, social, economic, and political, equality of status and opportunity, are nothing but some of the meanings or synonyms of socialism according to the author. Then fundamental rights, the socialism aspect is also reflected in fundamental rights under Article 14, which promotes equality before law, Article 15, no discrimination, and Article 16, that is equal opportunity in public employment. Okay, and the directive principles of state policy. Under this, Article 38, 39, 41, 43 lay down the socialist roadmap. These are popularly known as socialist DPSPs. Okay, so even though socialism was not explicitly mentioned in the Indian Constitution, the Indian Constitution always carried the values or ideals of socialism. According to this author, as well as that is also a reality. What about secularism then? Secularism also was not mentioned in the original constitution. However, it has reflected throughout the constitution. That is not just neutrality but also positive protection of religious freedom. That is Sarva Dharma Samabhava concept in Indian constitution. It is present even before the 42nd Amendment Act through preamble under the liberty of belief, faith and worship, and also fraternity, that is brotherhood, and under Article 25 to 28, that is right to freedom of religion, and Article 29 to 30, that is cultural and educational right of minorities. What kind of minorities? Both religious as well as linguistic minorities. Then Supreme Court rulings affirm secularism as part of the basic structure. So the RSS comment that they are not core constitutional ideas becomes valid here. Then about the basic structure doctrine. Basic structure doctrine was established in the famous Keshavananda Bharati case. What is basic structure? Parliament cannot alter the basic structure of the constitution. That is, basic structure holds certain values which are inalienable in the Indian constitution. Meaning it cannot be taken away. If they are taken away, it is like ignoring the soul of the constitution. Okay, socialism and secularism were validly added into basic structure doctrine in 1976, and they do not violate this doctrine. Okay, then Constituent Assembly's vision. So before this 42nd Amendment, the Constitution Assembly during the preparation of Indian Constitution had a vision, that is objective resolution and debates show that socialism and secularism were integral part of the founders' vision. This was used in the Keshavananda Bharati case, and they later upheld it as part of preamble or Indian Constitution. B.R. Ambedkar's 1949 speech emphasized equality, the philosophical base for both principles. Then about the RSS stand. The call to remove these terms is viewed as a majoritarian agenda aiming to replace constitutional democracy with Hindu Rashtra, according to the author, and an effort to delegitimize the anti-colonial struggle and rewrite the constitutional history. Okay, so they are very critical of the RSS statements, and they say that allegation of hypocrisy. That is, there is allegations that RSS collaborated during the emergency, but now critics for political ends. Okay, when there was emergency, when the 42nd Amendment Act was implemented and the votes were included, RSS was in collaboration with the government and it wanted these terms to be added into the constitution. Now they are against this because of the political gains, according to the other. So conclusion is there is need to retain the socialism and secularism because they are safeguarding the idea of India. That is, socialism and secularism are not additions but are the soul of constitution, are the part of base structure doctrine. Removing them is akin to attacking the foundations of Indian democracy. Citizens must resist attempts to dilute these core values and protect the constitutional ethos. Okay, and the third article is from the Hindu, again from the political perspective only. That is, Union government to gather support to remove Justice Yashwant Verma. Okay, why they are removing this Justice Yashwant Verma is not very important from UPSC, but the process involved in removing the justice or the High Court judge or the Supreme Court becomes important for us. Just for your context, there is a motion of removal of High Court judge in India in the Parliament now. That is, the Union government is initiating the process to seek removal of Justice Yashwant Verma, who is present in Allahabad High Court. Reason is there was a discovery of burnt sacks of currency notes at his official residence in Delhi in March 2024 during his Delhi High Court tenure, when he was a Delhi High Court judge. So there was a stacks of currency notes found in his home. Then Justice Verma has denied knowledge of the cash. However, the sources or the proof say otherwise. So constitutional and legal framework about the removal of Supreme Court or High Court judge. That is, under Article 124 Clause 4 and Article 271, read with the Judges Enquiry Act of 1968, govern the removal of High Court and Supreme Court judges. Okay, Article 124 Clause 4 and 217 with respect to High Court, this with respect to Supreme Court judges, say that they can be removed, but the complete process is given under Judges Enquiry Act of 1968. The removal requires a motion of either Lok Sabha with the support of 100 members in Lok Sabha or either in Rajya Sabha with the support of 50 members. Investigation by a 3-member committee, that is Supreme Court Judge, High Court Chief Justice and distinguished jurist, and then that is to be reported within 3 months, and once it is reported in the High Court Parliament, then it has to be passed by both houses with a special majority. Okay, only then the court is judge is removed. Okay, then and after that there is in-house inquiry and its limitations. That is, an in-house inquiry panel headed by Justice Sanjay Khanna was constituted. It said that it did not indict Justice Verma but recommended appropriate action. Then in-house panel reports are not binding for parliamentary proceedings. Only Parliament has authority to initiate and decide removal. Okay, these are certain issues. Next steps will be signature collection to begin soon, says the Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju. That is, you require at least 100 or 50 from both houses. Only then they can be motion can be introduced. Once the motion is introduced, then the process begins. Okay, once the motion is introduced, committee will be set up. Once they clear or give their judgment about the involvement of Justice Verma, only then the process can continue move forward. Decision on introducing the motion of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha is pending. Even if motion is introduced in the monsoon session, the removal process will extend beyond the session due to legal timelines. Okay, that is the issue here. Okay, the process of removal of Supreme Court and High Court judges, and also look after the transfer of High Court and Supreme Court judges. Not the Supreme Court, only High Court judges, because Supreme Court judges cannot be transferred. So there was an article in the health edition of the Hindu, which I found to be very important. It talks about a new Bharat establishing healthy aging parameters for Indian population. Okay, what is the Bharat study? Bharat full form here is Biomarkers of Healthy Aging, Resilience, Adversity and Transitions. It was launched by Indian Institute of Science in 2023 under the Longevity India program. Aim is to map biological and environmental factors driving aging in Indian populations and create a India specific aging baseline. Okay, so aging is getting old. Okay, so there is aging. The aging is not only biological, it is also environmental, in the sense the aging can be progressed faster or reduce slow or can be slower considering the environmental impact as well. Okay, so that is what it is studying here. So why the Bharat was needed? Because prior to Bharat, there was a significance of Western driven biomarkers. Okay, Western driven biomarkers which were suited for the Western populations. Example, cholesterol or CRP, vitamin D may not suit the Indian subcontinent or Indian physiology or disease patterns. So you need a particular biomarkers from Indian population as well. Then can lead to misdiagnosis and ineffective treatments in Indian population. Example, CRP levels are naturally higher in India due to early life infections, environmental toxins, etc. etc. So the CRP levels of Indians cannot be compared through the Western driven biomarkers because it is going to lead to wrong diagnosis. And then what are the goals of Bharat? Okay, aim is to establish a Bharat baseline defining what's normal for Indian population, identifying the early warning sign of age related decline, that is once the age goes on increasing, there will be decline in the molecular functioning, there will be decline in the tissue functioning and organ function lagging behind chronological age, etc. etc. Then improving the prediction, prevention, then improving prediction, prevention and intervention strategies. All these things can be achieved through the Bharat. So key features of the study, it is a multi-dimensional study. Okay, that is genomic, that is mutations linked to diseases are also studied, and proteomic and metabolic indicators, and then environmental and lifestyle factors. All these things are studied and only then the baseline will be created. And it is also using or integrating technology into this, such as use of AI and machine learning to integrate complex data sets, simulate outcomes and predict most effective interventions. Okay. However, the challenges included are, the challenges ahead are collecting diverse samples across India, because Indian diversity and ethnicity is so high, from healthy adults too as well, and also it requires long-term funding, government plus philanthropic from the capitalist is needed, and then logistics and national scale data collection will be a very significant issue. Then some topics from the prelims perspective. First one is Namdapha National Park and Tiger Reserve, because recently there was a camera trapping of the white-eared night heron. We will see what is this night heron and what is Namdapha. Where is Namdapha? It is present in Changlan district, Arunachal Pradesh, on India-Myanmar border. The area is about 1985 square kilometers. Geography, it is between Dafa Boom Ridge or the Mishmi Hills and Patkai ranges, Patkai Bum ranges. Then at the junction of the Indian subcontinent and Indochina biogeographic regions. Okay, and it is considered as the easternmost or northeasternmost tiger reserve or national biopark of India. Okay, National Park of India. A river which passes through is Namdapha River. Based on the river, name has been given as a Namdapha River. It is a tributary of Noadihang. Noadihang is further a tributary of like Brahmaputra River. It flows through it. Then what are the vegetation types? Vegetation is northern tropical evergreen forest and also includes North Indian tropical moist deciduous forest, East Himalayan moist temperate forest and moist alpine scrub. And about flora highlights, there are certain exclusive species such as Pinus mercusi and ABS delavai. Okay, delavai. And then there is a rare orchid, that is blue wanda, which is found only in Namdapha. And there are medicinal plants as well, that is Mishmi Tita, Copis Tita, which is used by the local tribes such as Mishmi. Okay. Then fauna highlights is, there is a unique fact, only park in the world with all the four big cats, not big fats, big cats, sorry, excuse me, with all the four big cats. What are the four big cats? Tiger, leopard, snow leopard and clouded leopard. Okay, no park in the world houses four big cats. Okay, what are the other big cats apart from tiger, leopard, snow leopard, clouded leopard? Other big cats are lion, cougar, puma, jaguar, etc. etc. Okay, jaguar is only found in Southern America. Puma, cougar is found in the Northern America as well as Europe, and tigers are found especially in Africa and Gir forest of India. Okay, and recently a tiger was seen in Gujarat, making Gujarat the only state in the world to house both lion and tiger together in natural environment. Okay, that is also one of the very significant environmental key current affairs. Then other species are Ula gibbon. Ula gibbon is the only ape of India. What are the apes? Chimpanzee, gorilla, gibbon, etc. etc. Are the apes. So in India, only Ula gibbon is found, and also snow lories, elephants, Himalayan black bear, sun bear, or etc. found in Namdappa National Park. Then, so recent highlight is they were able to identify or catch white-earned night heron in the camera. So scientific name is Oranasa magnifica, Orawan Nasa magnifica, and IUCN status is endangered. That is why it becomes very important. A endangered species was seen in the camera, and population is less than 1,000 individuals. And then range is primarily in southern China and northern Vietnam. Traits is nocturnal. What is nocturnal? That the species that spend most of the time in the night, which are active in the night. And elusive, medium sized brown heron and white ear patch. Significance is rear camera setting in Namdaba indicates higher conservation value of the park. Okay, very important. So few points which I have told you are very important. You can note in the notes. And then the final article for the day is what is genome. Okay, so genome, before we understand what is genome, why you are studying is because recently researchers sequenced the first whole ancient Egyptian genome from an individual who lived 4500 to 4800 years ago, which is the oldest DNA sample from Egypt to date. Okay, so that is why it becomes very important. Before we study, like we don't need importance of the study for us, but we need what is genome. Okay, so a genome is a complete set of genetic material of an organism. It contains hereditary instructions for growth and development, maintenance of life, as well as reproduction. All these things are contained in genome. Okay, and what are the components of genome? First is DNA. What is DNA? That is deoxyribonucleic acid, which is found in all the cellular organisms, obviously in humans also. And then there is RNA, ribonucleic acid with a single strand, found in certain viruses such as RNA viruses. And then there are two types in humans. One is nuclear DNA, another one is mitochondrial DNA. Nuclear DNA is present in cell nucleus, whereas mitochondrial DNA is present in mitochondria. And another importance of mitochondrial DNA is it is transferred from only mother side. Okay, mother side to the offspring. From genome to genes, DNA is composed of 4 nucleoside bases, that is ATGC, adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine. And in RNA, instead of thymine, there is uracil. Then DNA has a double helix structure. DNA is packed into chromosomes. With humans, they have 23 pairs, and genes are specific sections of DNA that determines trait like eye color, height, etc. etc. So this is how DNA will be in helical shape. Okay, that helical shape, there will be nitrogenous base coded to each other. A particular codes of the nitrogenous base are important for coding the proteins such as eye color, etc. etc. So those particular set of combinations are called as genes. Okay, and then where is genome found? Genome is found in eukaryotes, that is humans and animals and plants. Genome is mostly in the nucleus, except in RBCs, no nucleus or mitochondria. And then in prokaryotes, bacteria, it is genome resides in nucleolide. Okay, and in gametes, eggs or sperm contains half of the genome combines at the fertilization. Okay, eggs are fertilizers only combines half, and then the eggs and the sperm fertilize to each other. Half of from this, half from here, combine together to form full genome foundation. Okay, genome. And what is the size of genome? In human genome, it is 3.2 million base pairs, and genome does not correlate with the organism size. Okay, for example, Paris geopaca, which is a Japanese flower, has 150 billion base pairs, which is 50x more than human genome. Okay, doesn't mean don't think that way. If an elephant is larger, it might have larger genome compared to a flower. It is not the same way. Then genome studies are very important. So human genome project of 1990 2003, which was a full first sequencing of all 23 human chromosome pairs. Okay, study of genomes is called as genomics. Within genomics, there are two types. One is structural genomics and functional genomics. Structural genomics is studying all the like base pairs which are connected to each other, whereas functional genomics is studying the particular sets of genes or the particular set of sequences which are considered as gene or which have a function of coding for the particular body part. Okay, that is functional genomics. And recently, apart from this Egyptian, this one, India also conducted a genomic study, or it was called as Genomic Atlas, which was recently published in the Nature journal as well. According to that, it studies Indian populations, Indian tribals, etc., etc., and it also studied Indian genomic sequence as well. It gives certain ideas like how the out of Africa theory hypothesis happened, and what is the percentage of Neanderthals and Denisovans in India, in Indian tribes, etc., etc. Also, so just go through the genomic atlas as well. So recent current affairs: it is the oldest DNA sample from Egypt to date. Significance is it helps understand the ancient ancestry, disease evolution, and genetic adaptation over millennium. Okay, so this is the news analysis for the day. These are the important topics which I chose for you guys. So make note of important key points and also write down important keywords from prelims and mains. So if you like the video, then please hit the like button, comment on it, and also share with your friends. With this, I will end the video. Jai Hind.